Beyond the Beef, where we not only talk about business problems, we talk about business solutions. I'm Bob.
And I'm James.
And we're corporate facilitators for a company called Secret Learning Networks. Every day we travel the globe and we listen to people within companies who have problems that they feel helpless to solve. We want to help people move beyond those problems and towards solutions. So, James.
Yes, sir.
What's your beef today?
Bob, my beef today is every time I feel like I go to meetings, they always run long.
My meetings?
Yes.
So we're beefing about me.
So I'm going to beef about you today, Bob.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Well,
the proverbial Bob is what we're going to talk about today.
Doesn't this happen every week or every?
That I complain about it, or that you have a meeting that runs long?
Oh, right, both.
Yes,
I guess.
exactly.
Right, well, go ahead, beef away.
Here's my issue with it,
Yes.
right? I schedule out a day, and I have time between what I hope is time between my meetings to, well, work. Right?
That's where we differ.
Yes. Yes. You don't work.
Oh, no. Right. Okay. I stepped into it, so proceed.
So I've tried planning out my days a bit, and what happens is the 1 hour meeting turns into sometimes an hour and a half. With you, probably about a 4 or 5 hour meeting or an all-day event. But it could be maybe just an hour or whatnot long.
I like being with people.
Understood.
I'm sorry.
Understood. That's what it is. It's because you like being with people.
I do.
I get it. I do. But there's a couple of things that happen with something like that. And a couple of things that happen with me is my perception of what's going on is, and this isn't just you, obviously, we're joking about you, but in my corporate world, it happened all the time. Yeah. And I'd have back-to-back meetings for 8 hours in the day, nonstop, and then I'd be late to the next, or I'd have something else going on that I'd have to do after a meeting. And what these things told me when these meetings went long was that they didn't respect my time.
Yeah.
Right? And it was a respect, they don't respect my time. And that in turn then I'd feel that way about that person. Like, you don't respect my time, you don't respect the next meeting I have. Yeah. You're not organized to get it done in that period that you set forth that I put aside. So that's one of the things that really gets to me quite a bit if you haven't figured that out yet.
I don't think you're alone either, because by the way, this is not new, right? I mean, this is something that I've dealt with a lot in my company, but forget about me for a minute. It's also something I hear a lot in corporations and a lot we cover in our workshops. We talk about this a lot, and people talk about this as being a common complaint. There is a flip side to it, though, and that flip side is, having managed, large groups of people and that kind of thing, I often get another complaint, which is, you don't check in enough. We don't hear from you enough. We don't spend enough time with you. We don't know what...
Sure.
And so you try and find a balance, as a manager, I think, and I've seen you do the same thing, that you don't want to bother people too much. You don't want to check in, and sometimes you don't always have time. Then when you do get the chance to check in, you really enjoy that group speak, and you want to make sure that people get all their feelings out. And that and I also do think that there's a dynamic in these meetings that you're not going to get over the phone, or you don't get if you're like keeping everything right on time, because you want people to just be together and talk together. Some of the best ideas happen that way.
There's no doubt about it.
And so I think there's a good balance between that could be maintained.
I agree. I think it comes to setting expectations.
Maybe that's right.
And thinking about the people that are also in that meeting with you. So, if the goal is you find over and over again that 1 hour meeting is turning into 3 hours, book 3 hours.
Right.
Set the expectations right. Hey guys, here's what I'm looking to cover in this meeting. And then if it's going long, and you know it's going to be a little longer than 3 hours, check back in and say, guys, I know you probably have other things going on. Do you have some more time now that we can continue, rather than just kind of blasting through like that solicitor I think of on the phone that just, no matter what you say, they just keep talking and going and not respecting your time.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of respecting that time, but it's going to happen. Meetings are going to go long. They're going to be, that's going to happen. But if you can check back in with the audience and make sure it works, I think that's one of the ways to help avoid that.
I think that's true. And, let's face it, if you're a leader, right, I think it's a natural inclination for leaders to think, well, I am the most important thing.
See what I live with?
I'm just saying it might happen every once in a while to people other than...
You will drop everything off because I've got my meeting.
There's an ego thing that does go along with it, and I think that is something that's good to keep yourself in check and say, you know what, it might not be the most important thing on everyone's schedule at all times. So maybe more regular check-ins is a good thing, and also being respectful of the fact that people don't want to always sit there and listen to you for 3 hours and that kind of thing.
And the concern is that people would view you different.
Yeah.
Right? You continue to have a meeting that runs long, and people may not view you then as that leader that you need them to see you as, because maybe you've lost a little trust because it's not ending on time, and you've lost a little bit of those, that consideration, that empathy, because you're not really being respectful of the person's time. So schedule a meeting, check back in with the people. I also say agendas are a great idea so that you're organized and focused on what those meetings are going to have, so that you're everything's on the same page when those meetings begin.
So I kind of feel like this episode was you wanting to tell me something.
Bob, I've written about it. I've written about it. I'm speaking about it. Yeah, it does have a little bit to do with you. I'm not going to lie to you.
This has been Bob's therapy session. Thank you for joining as we destroy Bob's ego. No.
Impossible, by the way.
But I think it's a valid point, and I have heard the complaint a lot, and I do think it's something that people can work on. Now, I will give you one flip side on this thing. That if you are in those meetings, don't be afraid to kind of speak out and say, hey, got something else to do, or, hey, this is going a little bit long, or just shut up and sit there for 3 hours. I don't want to hear it again. I'm sorry.
This is a great one. This is great. I get it. Now I know what I got to do.
What just happened here? I don't know. No, I think it's a really good point. So I think that's a good thing to leave people with,
absolutely.
Right? Make sure you're respectful of people's time and make sure that the meetings don't go too long. Really good. Okay, great. So, want to wrap this one up?
Great.
Since you've had so much to say.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Please feel free to leave any comments below. We'll be sure to talk about them amongst ourselves and talk a little bit on our show about anything, comments that you may leave for us. And feel free to please subscribe to us as well. I'm James.
I'm Bob.
Thank you. This is Beyond the Beef.
Thanks for joining.
You're an ass. You're making me feel bad. How did that happen? All of a sudden, I'm a jerk. I wasn't even talking about you. This is. Oh no, not at all. You made it about you. We could talk about those things offline, you know. I didn't just say. You're talking about me. I wasn't going to say I'm talking about you. This is ridiculous.